Y'all, can I tell you about these Tecovas boots? I don't know if y'all know this, but these boots are handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable right out of the box. I know we buy everything online these days, but boots are something you really should get fitted for. And it just so happens Tecovas is based right here in Austin. So come shop with me at the Tecovas store on South Congress or the Domain. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. The iconic Livestrong wristband just turned 20. It was founded by famed Austin cyclist Lance Armstrong, and even after his doping scandal, Livestrong continues to support the treatment of cancer. And now they're looking ahead to the next 20 years. Today on CityCast Austin, I get into all of it with the Livestrong Foundation CEO, Suzanne Stone. This episode of CityCast Austin is brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Monday, July 29th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. I am here today with Suzanne Stone, Livestrong CEO. Let's talk bracelet. Let's just talk about the bracelet, because that's the icon here. The bracelet came out in 2004. Now, it's been 20 years since the bracelet debuted, and it's back in the news. Tell us about this renewed attention to Livestrong in 2024.
I'm excited about the renewed attention. Not only are we celebrating the wristband, we're celebrating the connection and the connections that this wristband represent. The connection that this thing has created is massive. I mean, it is an icon on its own, an inanimate icon. And it changed not only the foundation, but it certainly changed anybody who put it on. It's really a marker in time. It really became something more than just the silicone band. When the idea of the wristband first came up, I should qualify this and say I wasn't in the room. But when the idea first came, this concept was a partnership that Nike had already had with the foundation, and they were really looking for something that would really differentiate the foundation. They looked and kind of mirrored off of something that was happening in the NBA, and some of these NBA players were wearing these wristband things. And Nike thought, hey, I wonder if we could do a wristband that indicated that, hey, I'm a cancer survivor too, or that I've been affected by cancer, and we can attach it outwardly as a symbol for the foundation. What was interesting at the time, of course, and this is really pre-social media, right? Nobody was going viral for anything back then. And so it was much harder to create a movement. Very hard work to have people adopt anything. Certainly something that is an unknown, like this yellow wristband thingamajig.
Now, why did y'all choose yellow?
Sure. Well, yellow is a part of the Tour de France colors. So Lance being the founder, right? When you win that leg or win the day, you get that yellow jersey. And that's where yellow came from. When the wristband launched and people started putting it on, really the accelerator, just like it would be today, is when celebrities started wearing it. And whether it was Lance or it was a president of the United States or it was Tom Hanks or it was Robin Williams, Sheryl Crow, when you start putting celebrities in anything, people start asking questions. Media starts asking questions.
Right.
And the big thing was Oprah. Oprah really broke it for us in the foundation. And when Lance and Sheryl Crow went on the Oprah show, and she said,
That was it.
And she said, let's break a record. And they did.
Because, when Oprah says something,
everybody buys it.
That's it. Now, how much money has it raised?
So they sell for $1. They always have. We have distributed about 95 million of these. Now, we didn't sell 95 million. Let's be clear. We have given away many millions of those as well. At the time, we weren't tracking how many wristbands we were giving away. They were just giving them away. What I can tell you is that I have 4 million of them. I've got 4 million today, right now. And we sell on average about 30,000 a year.
Now, I know you weren't there then, but tell us how Livestrong and the Lance Armstrong Foundation got started.
Sure. Well, it got started when Lance was diagnosed with cancer. He wanted to do something to be able to talk about it. And if I could play psychologist for a second, I would say that part of his journey through healing, not only physically, but emotionally, is saying, I'm going to do something about the fact that I can't talk to anybody about this, that this is a stigma, that this is something I can't control. I didn't do anything, I didn't do anything to create this disease. This disease happened to me. And now it's a whisper, I have cancer. And
that's so true.
Yeah. And that, I believe, was really the start of that, and saying he wanted to capitalize on his success and his personality, right? And being able to say, hey, I'm successful. I'm a famous person. I can use my celebrity status like a ton of celebrities do today. And that's what he did. And that's why it started.
Nice. Now along those lines, in 2013, Lance Armstrong admitted to doping. We all know how that affected the world at large, but how did that change things at Livestrong?
When all of that came out, the foundation and Lance decided to part ways. So he hasn't been a part of the organization since then. He had a lot that he had to deal with, and also the foundation had continued to have a lot of work to do. So, we've got 35 million people who are cancer survivors today in the United States. Those numbers don't change because one person,
right,
was a human. And the choices and decisions that Lance made personally doesn't affect, and never did affect, how the foundation was operating. It was just a matter of if he was a part of the organization or not.
Right.
So now obviously it had an effect. I mean, 100% it had an effect. So when Lance leaves the foundation, what we saw is a lot of corporate partners and a lot of donors who had really tied themselves to him or leave because of him. So
versus staying for the cause.
Right, versus staying for the cause. I am sure that a lot of people felt betrayed, that they had been betrayed. What I hope today is that those people who were upset then, rightfully so, can take that moment, pause, and realize, wow, they never stopped doing what we were doing all along. So him leaving absolutely had an effect financially on the organization, as just like any nonprofit or any business. When your financial situation changes, your impact is going to change as well. And so post that period of time, the foundation has spent a lot of time figuring out and continuing to do the work that we've always done, being on the edge, being on the cutting edge, and saying, let's push that envelope. Let's see how we can make life better. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't say it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been an easy road.
People that are in the limelight, people that are celebrities, they are still people. I'm not saying that Lance Armstrong shouldn't have done or did what. None of that matters to me. At the end of the day, the man had cancer, and he helped start something for lots of other people. And so he did this thing that doesn't change the fact, like you said, that 35 million people are still living with cancer. It's nice to put a fine point on that. It's like, yeah, sure, it affected things, but at the end of the day, we're still doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
what it's about.
And, the organization, I think, has always been different because it has been cutting edge the whole time. And it's always been very forward thinking from its very first days, running an anti-stigma campaign, creating the field of survivorship. That word didn't exist before the Livestrong Foundation. This bracelet, now, no wristbands existed. We weren't seeing wristbands for causes. Now every cause has to have a wristband. I think it's a qualifying part of being a nonprofit is you have to have your own wristband in your own
Right.
color also, right?
Of course.
And that came directly from Livestrong. What we see today is that entrepreneurial spirit that I talked about before. We're now looking and saying, what else is out there? What other gaps are we not filling? What isn't in existence? So, for example, young people, we call them AYA. It's adolescents and young adults who are affected by cancer. So these are people who have been diagnosed with cancer, but also have had their lives affected. So they've lost a sister, a parent, a best friend, or they're going through it in some way like that. We know that the AYA community and their cancer incident rates are climbing. We also know that 85% of people today who get cancer are going to live at least for the next 5 years. So cancer has become and will continue to be a chronic disease instead of a death sentence. And what we're seeing there and what that chasm creates is you've got 20-year-old people, 20-year-olds, right? People 18 to 35 who don't know what to do now. There is this chronic condition or they have been affected deeply and there are no specific resources necessarily for them. I created a pilot program right here at University of Texas that launches this fall called Livestrong on Campus. You'll be able to go connect with other people in a social, emotional way that is it's not about raising money. It's about connecting with one another to support one another so that you're not alone. And our goal is to take this to every campus so that no matter where you end up in school, you will find a community that can be supportive for you when you need it, if and when cancer affects your life. And when you talk about the future, Nikki, I think that's why we're doing this.
I mean, that's one of the first little bit of autonomy. That's some power during a time that they probably do not feel very powerful. That is a big deal. Your life is changing. It's such a pivotal moment. So to have that kind of support while you're also going through these huge, you're expected to be an adult now, but you're in that mid section where you're not really an adult. And then you have this heavy, very adult feeling thing.
No, it's very hard. So we're doing that.
This is an exciting time to be doing this work in Austin. I want to kind of move forward and look into the future, next 20 years. First off, how will things change with the UT Medical School and the MD Anderson coming to town?
This is not an overnight decision, right, for MD Anderson to come, obviously. And so there has been talk for a few years now around when does MD Anderson come? What does that look like on the cancer landscape? About a decade ago, we created this partnership with the University of Texas and Dell Medical School to create the Livestrong Cancer Institutes. If you're the patient, you are at the center and the physician is not at the center. So you walk in and you're meeting your guide or your navigator, and just part of your care is seeing the physician. We're also going to make sure that in that same visit, you're talking to a nutritionist, an exercise oncologist, you're talking to a mental health professional. Maybe you've got, yoga there. Maybe your family needs to be connected to some emotional, social support as well. And also, you're set up for your chemo or your radiation or immunotherapy or whatever it is that the physicians have in mind for you, clinical trials, whatever an appropriate therapy is for you that you get to have ultimate decision on. And so the purpose of our partnership was to build that, to see what happened, what would happen. So we did that, which was super exciting, and had a great study come out of that, really got to see the quality of life improve for those people who went through care at the Institute underneath that model.
Now, wait. So I want to make sure that I understand. The Livestrong Cancer Institute is a physical building, or is it services connected to other people?
Yes. So it's a physical building, yes, within Dell Med. So
that exists. Okay, that
exists.
currently exists. Okay.
Currently exists. When MD Anderson and UT decided that this was the time, they're ready, they're going to come in together. To have duplicative services doesn't necessarily make sense. And so we're excited for MD Anderson to come in and offer exactly what you were talking about, right? World-class care right here. We have to complement what's already here in Ascension, Baylor Scott and White, all of the healthcare partners that are here. We're taking everything that we have learned through our partnership with UT, which we could not have done without them, through our partnership with UT and DelMed, and say, okay, what's next? So thinking of it as an incubator almost, and that Austin served as that really cool incubator space.
I like that. That stamp is there. I like that. So how do you think that the MD Anderson facility will change the lives of those living with cancer in Austin? Because thousands of Austinites have been driving to Houston for treatment. Do you think it'll keep them from having to make that trip?
I think so. MD Anderson is really great at unique and hard to diagnose and hard to treat cancers. I think that's really their sweet spot. I am not an MD Anderson employee, so I am just speaking from my personal knowledge here. When it comes to care for, and I'm not trying to minimize anybody's diagnosis of any kind. So if you have a type of cancer that is not necessarily unique, it's certainly unique to you. It is certainly awful to you. It is life-changing to you. And also, it's something that other people have experienced. More information and easier to manage. Yeah, if you are a part of that and you're living in the Austin area, we have some incredible facilities already right here that can take care of you, that can treat you. We've got oncologists here that are top of their class. Now, if you are diagnosed with a cancer that is different, it is unique, could be late stage, could be what you are unique, right? There could be other underlying factors that make this diagnosis more complicated. MD Anderson, and those are the patients that normally are going to travel right down to MD Anderson. And I would say, how great is it that now you get to have your family close? That's the benefit, right? That's really ultimately the benefit, is keeping your family of support, however they're related to you biologically or not, in physical proximity to you, because that's how you heal the best, is when you've got people who have your back.
Right. So Livestrong has helped people with cancer obtain access to fertility care, which I did not know. And so tell us about that. How many people have received funding for reproductive health care?
Absolutely. So fertility is such an interesting piece. And people often say, wait a minute, you're in the fertility business? Why does this have anything to do with cancer? And it has to do with cancer exactly like we talked that AYA acronym earlier, right? All of these young people are getting diagnosed with cancer. They haven't had kids yet. And so many of these treatments will change your ability to ever have a family. You get diagnosed with cancer and you have this you've got this finite amount of time before you can start treatment. Your world has just fallen apart. And hopefully your physician has said to you, do you ever consider possibly maybe one day ever wanting to start a family? And if the answer to that question is yes, then you've got to do something prior to treatment.
Wild. That is wild that you have to even think about that in that moment. And you do, which is just kind of heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And it's a very fast and very emotional decision. It's also incredibly expensive. The average cost for a female to go in and have her eggs preserved is over $10,000.
What?
Yeah. $10,000. For men, it's $500.
Wait. Is there a medical reason for that? Is there a reason for that? Why is it so much more expensive?
Well, I'm sure, certainly egg preservation is a little bit more complicated. Egg retrieval is more complicated.
I'm going to have to do a lot of research about this later.
You can do some research on that. But it's an important part of the story, because now your life has just been shattered. You have this diagnosis you were not anticipating. Now you have to decide whether or not you're ever going to have a family, and you have to come up with this insane amount of money. in order to do that. So this was a see a need, fill a need moment for us. We realized that there's this big gap in care. So we've done two things. The first thing we've done is begin to advocate for every state, because this is how insurance mandates work. For every state, we want the insurance companies mandated to cover fertility preservation for anybody diagnosed with cancer. 13 states currently have that mandate, and I'm really excited to say that Texas is one of those. So if you have insurance and you've been recently diagnosed and fertility is a thing, please ask your insurance company, find out what your coverage is. For the vast majority, years ago, before any states had this mandated, and still the majority of states don't, people are having to make these decisions quickly. So what we've done is we've built a fertility discount network. And this is a network of over 200 clinics all around the country who agree to discount their services by 25%. In addition to that, we are partnering with EMD Serono, which is a pharmaceutical company that manufactures a series of drugs that you as a woman need in order to stimulate your egg production. Those are free. So when you come through our program, that's about free. That's normally about $7,500 worth of pharmaceuticals. Yeah, it's a lot. So if you get diagnosed with cancer, your oncologist tells you need to preserve. You come to the Livestrong website now, type in your zip code. You can find clinics that are a part of our network. Choose that clinic, call them up. You'll apply to our program. Within 24 hours, you're approved. You're in to see the doctor. And the next day, you've got meds on your doorstep.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's huge. It's impactful. We had 1,000 people just last year come to us, take advantage of that. And one of our favorite things to see is when we get random pictures of babies, because they're preserving today, but it could be 5 years. Right. It could be 10 years before they're ever ready to have children. So post-treatment, meaning you've gone through treatment, you didn't preserve, and now you're going to try. Or maybe you did, like, let's say you've preserved, but now it's time for IVF. We're going to help you there too. Those same clinics are going to provide that same discount, and we're going to help you with that IVF treatment as well.
So your foundation has been around for a while at this point now.
27 years.
What's changed in cancer research and cancer survivability?
Well, so much has changed. I mean, it would.
I know that's
it's a really large question. But I would say, I would say about 85% of people who are diagnosed are going to be around in 5 years. Yeah. So survival rates are increasing, and we are looking at cancer as a chronic disease. So that's a big thing, and it's super exciting to think about. And it's great because unfortunately the cancer diagnoses are increasing. So for the first time in 2024, the estimate is that we'll hit 2 million new people diagnosed in this year, and that's the highest it's ever been. We are so grateful for organizations that kind of supplement what we do, right? That work in prevention, that are working in early detection, that are working to get those research dollars done, and we will advocate there too. I don't see a future where Livestrong doesn't exist until there is a future where everybody has survived. But in the meantime, right now, we've got 35 million people who will continue to be survivors until their last breath, whenever that is. If that's tomorrow, or that's in 40 years or 50 years or longer. So we're going to be here for a minute because we still have work to do.
I love that. So last question. How are you feeling about the next 20 years of treating cancer in Austin? Like, how are you feeling about it?
I would say that I'm really optimistic. I'm optimistic because there's no perfect city. There's no perfect environment. There's no perfect healthcare system. And certainly we have trouble with ours, right? There are areas of our healthcare system that could be improved greatly upon. But what we have in Austin is this incredible community that attracts just attracts people who don't take no for an answer. People who love to sit at the cutting edge. People who say, well, what if it works? And it's only when you live in a community like that that doesn't say, well, we've always done it this way, so this is just what's going to happen. And so, you're just going to have to deal with this disease because this is all we do here. That's not what Austin is.
Right.
And so if you live here and you're fortunate enough to call this city home, which I'm so fortunate to call the city home, have for 11 years, you can rest assured that there are people who are not sitting idly by and saying, well, this is how it's always been. There are people, physicians, researchers, clinicians right here saying it can be better than this. And they're pushing the envelope. And I believe that the future of healthcare, cancer care in Austin is super bright.
That is the perfect place to stop. Thank you so much for being here and talking to me about this. And I appreciate you being here. This is great.
Thanks, Nikki.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Livestrong's work in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.